Okay, well, we already started recording. Uh, okay. Welcome, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you. We are now in the Value Talk from VCL, having Dr. Alex Tierney with us to explain and give us some insights and perspective into the topic of digital upskilling and its relevance to whether people and organization growth and performance growth. This is Shady from the VCL team, and also we have Hana with us from the marketing team at VCL as well to be part of the discussion. Welcome to the Value Talks once more, Alex. Please, if you can give us just a brief about you for us and also for people with us in the call.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, as I said, thank you for inviting me here today. I am absolutely excited to talk about digital upskilling because it's, I think, a buzzword that maybe some of us aren't too clear what it means and why it's so important. So, first of all, thanks for that. So, my name is Alex Tierney, and I am a global partner account manager at the Digital Marketing Institute. And what that means is I work with partners from all around the world who take and work with the Digital Marketing Institute to take our education materials and bring them into whether it's bringing them into their teams or working with other corporations and other individuals who are looking to upskill and educate them. And as a result, I do a lot of research into what trends are happening in digital marketing. Why do companies need to embrace these trends? And how can we make these things uh, how can we really bring forward the importance for companies and students to study in these areas?
Very good, and very interesting, Alex. Actually, okay. As a kickoff to this conversation, what do you think the relevance between the digital upskilling and also, as I mentioned at the beginning, the performance, the people performance, and also the overall business performance, and how it's relevant as well with the market demands that's changing due to several reasons. And obviously, we have the pandemic that's came in 2020 to change a lot of things in the way organization manage operations and manage business, and also how people perceive that. What do you think
Mhm.
of these?
I mean, it's everything. If you're not doing it right now as a company or as someone who's looking to get into an organization, you are well behind. It's not even at this point. If you're not doing it, okay, it's time to do it. It's like it's critical. You need to upskill. You need to bring in digital into your organization. Um, so if we think about it, and I mean, there's so much to unpack from that, and I know we'll get into a bit more detail, but if we think about it with the pandemic, everything went online. The bricks and mortar shops had to close. Everyone was online. And what's really critical when you think about that is not only were the businesses online because they couldn't open their shops, but customers went online and they expected the same level of service, the same value, the same experience online as they did in person. And for a ton of businesses, understandably, that turned them on their head. A lot of people might not have training in customer experience. And I'm going to use an industry term here in CX. They might not have an understanding of what does that look like online. Uh, Also, things like UX, so that's user experience. How does someone use their website? How can you optimize your website to make sure that someone sees what they want to purchase and purchase it quickly? So there's all these things that are so easy in a shop and that we've really designed in a shop, for instance, but taking that online, it's a whole different ballgame. And what's so important about that is that it's the customer who's online. So if you're not meeting your customer online or you're not bringing the service to your customer online as they're expecting, someone else will. It's incredibly competitive. So that's what happened in the pandemic. Now we're in the post pandemic world. And what we're seeing is people are still online. Now there's a sort of an integrated approach with the bricks and mortar. We're back, but it's really, really crucial to integrate this into your offering. And again, I'm using a shop as an example here. This can be the same for banking. This can be the same for pharmaceuticals, for law firms, for anything that we're talking about here. How do employees relate online? it's everywhere. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay, very good, very good. And this leads us, Alex, also to a very important part you mentioned concerning user experiences and how they interact with the business online and so on. Do you think the change happened since the pandemic started that impacted the way people and organizations also do the marketing efforts and plan for marketing campaigns and marketing communication and so on, whether digital and non-digital. But here I'm more concerned about the digital environment, what's changed in their approaches, what impacted the user experience versus before the pandemic and so on.
Hmm. Again, I think traffic is a huge thing here. Everyone was online. The idea of competition, again, the space is getting over flooded, the space is getting saturated, uh, and the level of expectation, I think, is the big one here. Now, on top of all of this, technologies have changed, trends have changed. What we see, there's a statistic I was just reading. I can't remember the actual number of it, but the amount of, say, digital marketing, the amount of display ads, the amount of videos, the amount of things that we as consumers will engage with versus a billboard, watching television, listening to the radio, all of that traditional marketing, particularly as a result of the pandemic, really took a dive and everything became digital. Also, if you see during the pandemic, budgets were getting cut across the board. So whether that was hiring budgets, whether that was sales budgets, but marketing budgets, in particular digital marketing budgets, were areas that were continued to be funded, continued to be supported. So again, you're seeing that there is a ton of interest in digital marketing because it's so effective. Um, yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, but this part, if we get into the details of the behaviors of people after pandemic, I'm talking about consumers and also users and how they interact, as I said, with the business online. These, I believe, carried the organizations to consider the digital upskilling to be part of their development strategies and development plans. So, in that part, what do you think of the lack of skills and lack of knowledge that the organizations has with their employees and their experts? And I encourage her here, Hannah, to contribute to the conversation. I believe he has a very good point to raise in that part.
Yeah, actually, Alex, I wanted to ask you about what are the most crucial digital skills that the organization need to consider when they are considering the upskilling.
That's a really great question. I have a visual here that I can share in just a moment. But what we're seeing right now, there's a huge amount of investment going into data and analytics,
Mhm.
and a huge investment into website optimization. So optimization goes back to the question about user experience.
Yeah.
It goes into absolutely everything. If your website is not optimized, whatever you're looking to try to do, if it's deliver a service or if it's to convert leads, whatever it might be, everything is landing at your website. In particular, what we're seeing as well is huge drives in e-commerce. So all of this, if you're looking to invest into your digital marketing budget, all of this comes back to those things. But data and analytics is the most important area. Yeah, it is. And then it's the most difficult. We have so much data, but we don't know what to do with it really. How do we interpret it? It's a whole other language. So that would be a huge area. What we're seeing as well is that there's really difficult. So because companies are investing in this so much, uh, it's a difficult area to recruit in because there aren't people who are properly certified or properly skilled in the area. Um, and I might just share a little graph here that I have on
Please.
And that
yes,
would be
on a skills gap here. So let me just get this. just make my screen bigger here. Can you see that okay, the full screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So what we see here, and this is actually from a report that the DMI did with the Economist Group, and we put together a white paper on the state of the digital industry. And we found these areas listed on the left here on this white graph. These are the areas that are the most difficult to recruit in. And they are also the areas that that organizations are focusing on when it comes to um, uh, investing in strategy, investing in digital marketing. So as we see, we have that data and analytics here.
Mm.
And customer experience as well is so important because, again, how do you transform something that may have been not digital to a digital service? Or in general, because more people are coming online, you might already provide a digital service online, but it's not scaled at all for the new numbers that we're experiencing. So these are sort of the two toughest areas. And then you get down to more specific, sort of specialized areas in digital marketing. So things that we see about UX and web design, search marketing, social media marketing, and the list goes on and on. But these are really difficult areas to recruit in. And the reason they're so difficult is because there's a huge demand for them, but there aren't enough people to meet that demand. And this is the same here on the right-hand side. So this is a skill supply and demand index that we have as well. So there's a huge mismatch, basically, between the demand for digital marketers and the resources, the people for them. We see that across advertising, social media, data science, and again, going down into more specific areas here. But the trend across these is that there's a huge, huge demand for people to be online and to meet the company goals, to meet the customer needs, but there just aren't enough people.
Hmm.
I have another slide here that I can jump into, or will I hold off on this for a moment?
No.
Okay. Would you like me to jump into this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
But
I can go
before
on
this,
and yeah.
before this, Alex, if we go back to the last slide, please. Yes, here we had already the discussion on the customer experience and its impact on how organizations perceive digital and digital marketing post-pandemic. But in terms of the number one skill that's not there in the strong form in the market, which is the data and analytics. If we go more deeper into the topic of data and analytics, what exactly the requirements for whether people or organizations to deal with that requirements in terms of technology infrastructure, and also how the skills required for people to develop to cope with these changes, and so on from the two sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hannah, you might come across this as well in your own work
Yes.
too. What are you
Yes.
finding? Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to know what if we already have a data analyst. How can we add skills to him? What the required skills to his job role when
Yeah, and
he
that's a great question.
yes.
Similar to what Shadi, you were saying about, how does the oh yeah.
Yes, but here, Alex, two parts. The first one, how organizations are perceived the requirements in terms of technology infrastructure versus people, and how people will develop their skills to cope with the market changes and requirements.
Mhm. So when it comes to the requirements of the organizations, what we're seeing is there might be data analysts there, but the changing technologies means that we have different insight into different areas. So while we might have someone who's skilled, they might be a data analyst, they might not have the sort of big picture in terms of what it is, what's strategy, what we're looking at. So again, this kind of matches that idea of business needs versus team needs versus individual needs. If we have a data analyst, they need to have the context of the digital platforms, the digital strategy, and how they all integrate with each other as well. Because again, what we're seeing is you have all these numbers, you have all this data, but what do you do with it? If you don't understand the big picture of it, then you're not really going to optimize the use of that data as much. So how can you upskill, Hannah, as you were saying, how can you upskill in that? All that comes back to is matching the overall needs of the business to what it is that you're meant to be the expert in. So if you're a data analyst looking at Google Analytics in particular right now, it's a huge, huge, huge issue, or not issue. There's a big development, an exciting development, uh, but Google Analytics is ending and GA4 is going to be the new system that we're using. All data, all marketing, digital marketing data analysts have been using Google Analytics for everything. So now there's a whole new system that they need to learn right now. So there's going to be a huge demand across every business. Even if you're not a digital first business, you need to make sure that you're getting well versed in this, well ahead of the changes. In is it July 2023, I think. So anyway, that would be the number one area that is pretty concerning at the moment, because if you're planning budgets, if you're planning campaigns, if you're doing all of this, but your language of measuring it is changing, it's really, really crucial that businesses are looking at that right now. Sorry, there were a lot of questions there. So Shadi, if I missed an area, please remind me.
No worries, Alex. The second part was the how they set the plan for people upskilling concerning the digital topics, and to map it with the actual requirements of the organizations. How this is going on right now.
So are you kind of thinking there, how are people upskilling in line with their business needs? Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I mean, we see that across. It's a really interesting question. I think the big one would be that Google Analytics change, because that's used by pretty much every company out there. But what we see in the DMI, we work with so many different organizations that could be small organizations, it could be organizations with thousands of people in them. So it's a really bespoke approach. But ultimately, in terms of upskilling with these, um, everyone is sort of feeling the crunch. No, we haven't encountered one company that's saying we're covered, we're on top of our digital skills. There's a huge, huge, huge gap. So what we usually do, and any company that's looking to upskill, it doesn't have to be with us in particular, but what we're finding the trend is to do a type of diagnostic, really, to say, okay, what is your company's need? What are you looking to achieve in the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 years? And then we assess the skills that
Hmm.
internally the people have. So the way we'd go about it is we have a quiz that we engage with people to do. And then say again, there's a big gap in data. They upskill, they might have courses. So there might be, we have on-demand courses that you could do in a couple hours, or ones that take a little bit longer. But the main way that people are upskilling is, or sort of matching those needs to the business, is learning and certifying in those areas from trusted individuals. Um, I wouldn't engage with a free course. Why, it sounds amazing. It sounds fantastic. Something that you can do on YouTube for free. You're just not going to get the return on investment in your time on that. So anyway, that's what we're seeing with businesses, is that they want to make sure that the time that their employees are spending on matching these needs is time well spent. So they're certifying with trusted
Very
people.
good. Very good. So it always starts from the side of the organization to plan and strategize things, and then to assess people skill sets and level, and then set the strategy of upskilling and learning to meet these requirements.
Absolutely, yeah. And what's really important here, and again, I don't know if you've come across this in your own work, or any of our people who are listening here today, is you can't really effectively uh, upskill in a silo. So what I mean by that is, if your data analyst is upskilling, if they're engaging with the trends that are happening out there, they're aware of changes, you really need to have your search marketing specialist also upskill, because if one person is far ahead of everyone else, it's going to be incredibly difficult to bring everyone else on board and understand uh, why it's important to upskill. And what's really interesting that we find is uh, that executives, so people who aren't even engaged in doing the digital marketing themselves, but who might be more about strategy, who might be more about brand management, if they don't understand a high level understanding of digital marketing and brand management and brand strategy, there's a huge gap in terms of success. Um, I had a note here before jumping on that there's a clear correlation between the level of digital transformation. So that's us talking about making sure your data analyst is up to date, making sure your search marketing specialist is up to date. If that digital transformation isn't high, and sorry, so there's a clear correlation that if you don't have that, your financial performance won't be really high. And in particular, companies with a digitally savvy executive team outperform other companies by 48%. So that's what I was trying to say there when we were talking about those high level strategy people in organizations, those C suite individuals. If they don't have a digital savvy mindset, so if they don't have an idea of the essentials, they are putting themselves at a disadvantage. We looked at some studies and we found that 48% of the other companies are outperforming if they have a higher knowledge. So it's really interesting because you wouldn't think really, if you're just going, okay, we need to make sure that you're the highest data analyst, we need to make sure you have the best search marketing. You wouldn't think your head of strategy needs to be digitally savvy, but you do. You need to make sure you're all aligned. So it's really, really interesting. It's everywhere right now.
Yes, yes, yes. Very interesting. Thank you, Alex, for bringing some insights into the topic because I believe having some insights into the core topic and the knowledge we were sharing through yourself, Alex, would add a lot to people who are listening and with us in this call. And by the way, I'm encouraging people as well in the call to share questions at the end of the call. Ask Alex whatever you have in mind concerning the topic of digital upskilling and the relevance we mentioned at the beginning. Okay, so moving from this part, which is related to the organization itself and the strategy part and the lack of skills in their employees and so on, to another subtopic, maybe related to people himself. And in this part, Hannah, I believe, has an input in this part. Please, Hannah.
Yes, actually, I wanted to ask about the career opportunities that people can adopt or can join in the digital after the digital transformation.
Hmm. Absolutely. I had that second slide here that I might just show you because the opportunity is very exciting.
Mhm.
So let me just share my screen again here. Um, 1 second. There we are. Okay. So in terms of career progression, um, in particular, there's, as I was saying previously, this skills gap. That's a negative word, but what it means for an individual in terms of career progression is there's so much opportunity because they are in such high demand. So that previous slide, as you can see, supply to demand index. There's a big gap here in terms of what we're looking for digital marketers. And what we found is that only 9% of companies rate their marketing department as strong in all aspects of marketing. And only 17% of companies agree that they have the staff to assist with digital skills transformation. So, what does that mean? It means that there is a huge opportunity for someone who is skilled and certified to apply to these organizations, or if you're in an organization, to go for a promotion, to go for something that you've been kind of have your eye on, but you don't feel that you're skilled enough. If you upskill, the opportunity is there. It's completely there. What's really interesting, and those listening on the call, I'm not sure if you work in marketing, but there's a lot of sales and marketing crossover, in particular, the area of social selling. So that's looking for leads online and engaging with leads online through social media. And there's a huge gap here as well. 69% of sales professionals do not have any active training in social selling. And this is where we engage in people online. Think about your LinkedIn network, think about your social media campaigns. And 72% of sales professionals would agree that they're not proficient in this area. So, in terms of career progression, kind of going backwards there, uh, if you upskill in the area, you have a huge opportunity, whether that's in marketing, whether that's in sales, whether that's in strategy. Uh, there's a huge opportunity here for you. Uh, just the final statistic there on that slide is that 77% of companies believe that the lack of digital skills is the number one obstacle in their ability to transform in today's world. So this goes back to everything that we were saying at the beginning. It's an incredibly complicated field to get into the digital sphere because it's ever changing. And as a result of it ever changing, there's a huge gap in terms of skilled people to work in the area. So if you can offer yourself as a skilled person uh, with an ability to progress the digital transformation, you're an amazing candidate. So that job progression is really there and it's really important.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
These also, Alex, will open the door for other things to ask about concerning if we go back to organizations and how they strategize things and so on. What do you think is crucial to be part of this strategy to bring the traditional brand management, let's say CRM and other aspects of marketing into the digital world and connect different parts of the marketing and digital marketing operations together?
Yeah. And that's an incredibly important point. I really think that goes back to training everyone, all the stakeholders in your team. So if we're trying to bring in traditional brand management, we're trying to align that with the digital marketing team. Basically, align that with your customer. Find your customer, grow your customer base. How do you do that? That's training that the management level and understanding, getting the language of digital marketing, because someone who's not at that management level, they're there for their big picture ideas. They're there to see the gaps, to see the opportunity. And what's incredibly important here is they need to understand the competition. They need to understand the market. And if you don't have an idea of digital marketing, if you don't have an idea of those needs, um, you're not going to bring the brand forward in such a way that you could. So from what we've seen in our business and in our research, um, that's the key, is to make sure that the top is aligned with the other teams as well. Because if the team is pushing for something that the top doesn't understand, you're not going to progress and you're not going to grow.
Yes, and I believe this should be part of a comprehensive digital transformation strategy for the whole organization that serves both, whether the digital and non-digital environments together. So, moving through the same on the same level of the topic that's related to the organization itself. What they require to be looking at when they think about digital transformation and also the impact of the digital transformation strategy and also the execution of the strategy on the digital presence and digital operations and also their skill sets required for people to develop and to work on these parts and so on.
I think the key thing in that area is getting an understanding of the big picture. And I keep on saying the big picture. What do I mean by that? I think they need to understand how how digital transformation weaves its way into all areas of your business.
Hmm.
So, why is it important to understand a digital customer? Why is it important to measure things online? Why is it important to be on social media? I can hear someone saying, okay, we need to get on Facebook. And someone says, why? Because everyone's there. You need to know more than that. You need to know that why it relates to your strategy and how you can embrace that and how you can have the best campaign possible. So we all know it's important to be online, but by engaging in a course, engaging in a workshop, or whatever it might be, you get to know how it actually affects your business. So if you want to do a certain type of campaign, if you want to grow a certain area of your business, how can, what does it mean? What platforms should you be using? What metrics should you be looking for? What experts should you be engaging? So you really need to know those levels. And a lot of people understandably don't. We have executives who've been working for the last 15, 20 years that things, people were online, but they weren't, their last training might be well before Instagram and Facebook and Google Analytics even. So it's really, really important to understand that. And that's what I think you need to look for.
Very good, very good. Yes, also for this part, moving from this part into people, and also how they manage the actual operations of digital marketing. You mentioned a very important point, which is the to have the best possible campaign in place. In your view, Alex, what makes a campaign the best campaign for this organization? I believe it's a hard question, but
Yeah.
it could be something to guide people on, and also the skills required. And this would lead us as well for people and how the skills required for them to manage a successful campaign, and then to manage a successful career, digital marketing career. But let's start with the campaign. What do you think is crucial for a successful campaign and the required skill to manage a successful campaign? And then let's move on with the skills required for people. Ah,
Yeah. So, wow, that's a tough question because it depends on the campaign, it depends on the organization. But overall, I would say
yes,
first things first, knowledge. Knowledge is power here. You need to know really the key organization, or sorry, the key points of your campaign. So, simple, going back to those SMART objectives. So what's the objective of your campaign? Is it measurable? Is it actionable? Is it something that you can do within a certain amount of time? So you need to have a clear idea of what the campaign is. If your campaign is grow business, that's not going to work. You need to know that you're looking to grow a specific product by the end of quarter 3, and you're looking for, this is what your goal is. So that's the first part, is actually narrow down what you're doing. In terms of then from a digital skills point of view, you need to have a really good team. And I think you need to have a generalist and you need to have specialists. So you need to have someone that has a great command of the digital space. They need to know how platforms integrate, how different channels speak to each other, and they need to know, sort of have a command of that. Then you need the specialists. You need your PPC specialists. You need your social media specialists, because they need to take control and they need to have an idea of what their role is and what they're doing. So really, I think that's as general as I can get, because it does get very, very specific.
yes,
But
yes,
I think that you do need to have a clear idea of a campaign, and you need to know, because it's digital, it's amazing. We can measure everything. So you
yes.
need to know how to measure, what to measure, and what it means. And that's where you need that generalist and those specialists. Um, and then depending on the campaign, we can go into more detail there.
Yes, and here's a very important part as well, Alex, which is the involvement or having a technical arm in the team or the company to support the execution and implementation of the different things of the marketing digital marketing operations overall. And in this part to support, as you said, to measure the running campaigns, to measure the behaviors, to manage the data and how they store the data. I believe so. Um, yes, very good. Moving from this as well to the next part that's relevant as well to this question. How people or professionals manage a successful career in digital marketing. What skills they require to acquire to be that or to manage this successful career. And then I believe Hannah has a question for this as well.
Sure.
after you answer this one.
Sure. So, how to manage your successful career.
Hmm.
Again, declaring my bias, I work in digital education, but I really, really believe in everything that we do. So that's why I work at it. But you need to keep on upskilling. You need that could just be reading an article. I think it's key to be taking courses and certifying in them because then you can prove your knowledge. But in terms of managing your career, you need to be flexible. You need to be always learning, whatever it is. So, everyone today that's joining to hear this discussion today, great job because you're engaging with your career, you're thinking critically, and you're growing. Um, what we also find is that you need to also have a bit of risk taking when it comes to
Hmm.
trying out new technologies, when it comes to taking the risk of uh, trying something new in your campaign, because if you just keep on sticking to what you're doing, you're not going to grow. So all of that comes into making yourself available and growing. um, and again, that could look like taking a course, that could look like engaging in networks or whatever that might be. But absolutely, if you're trying to manage your career, um, it's really, really important that you make yourself open to change. That would be the biggest thing. And again, I think because I work in education, I think just the best way to do it is to take courses, is to learn from the best. Research your courses as well before you do it. Make sure it's what you're looking for. But that by far, I think, is the best way. And we see that at the DMI in our work. We see, so because we're a digital marketing education company, we measure
Yes.
everything. But what we see is, so we've certified 45,000 people around the world. 80% of our alumni report a promotion within a year of certifying. So if you're looking to manage a career, the statistic says it all. That's how you grow. It's certifying and it's proving it with that certification.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
As you spoke here, you're talking about more the junior employees,
Hmm.
but here I want to ask you about the senior managers or the
Hmm.
senior strategist. How could they manage the new generation and the new digital transformation? How could they manage the new talents they have?
That's a really important question, particularly right now when we see a lot of people are changing jobs, leaving jobs, or they're getting into the industry because they've decided they didn't like their old job. Um, and again, I think it's understanding what they do. I think it's understanding if you're trying to be a good manager, you need to understand what the person does that you're working with. So you could be a
Yes.
digital marketing manager and you could be managing someone who's a content marketing specialist. You need to understand what their needs are. You need to understand how you can help them grow. Now, you don't need to be technically proficient in what they're saying, but you need to understand where they should be and help them along their career progression. We see this a lot, and HR comes into this too. We see it's really interesting. HR executives taking our simple courses, like our kind of ones that are made for C-suite level executives, because it helps them understand their workforce. It helps them understand if they're hiring someone, what they should be looking for. And if they're looking to retain, the big thing right now is about retaining employees and ensuring that they have value and satisfaction in their job. So you need to have a knowledge of the digital space in order to ensure that you're managing them well and that they'll remain in your company.
Yeah, that's great.
Very good. Very good. Also, before moving to the next part, Alex, reminding people as well to ask questions at the end of the call if you have anything to ask Alex about. Okay, Alex, for this part of the discussion, I have a question concerning the responsibility of, for example, the DMI into the market and into people, professionals in the market in terms of development. For example, at VCL, we all the time care about our clients, our stakeholders, shareholders, employees, and so on. And also we try our best to give people value not necessarily to be part of the client base or even a potential for VCL. And I believe that's similar at the side of DMI. Can you give us a view on what the DMI is doing to be present in the market and to give people value that's really they need that actually?
Yep. Oh, oh my gosh, how much time do you have? So the big area that we
Elaborate
work,
as much as you can,
yeah. Well, I think, I mean, I'll just show you if it's okay to share my screen. I think
please.
it's a really impressive thing that we have here at the DMI is, let me just get this up, um, our membership base. So how do we add value? In particular, first of all, we deliver incredible education. Our education is industry validated. All of our courses are industry validated. So what does that mean? It means that we have a portfolio of courses that we've built with our Global Industry Advisory Council. So who is this Global Industry Advisory Council? They are a bespoke council of about 20 people, 20 executives from the biggest companies out there. We're talking the likes of IBM, Microsoft, Meta, LinkedIn. We have tons of people across Google. So basically, we have the people that I think if I was a digital marketer, I'd want to hire me and eventually I'd like to be. So the fact that we have their ear and they validate all of our curriculum, they sometimes tell us, get that out of there, it's out of date, add this in, it's coming down the line. Um, but we have those people there to validate the curriculum. I think that is the biggest value add for DMI students because they know and they can trust what it is that they're learning comes directly from leaders in industry. But, or additionally to that, what I wanted to show you was our membership platform, which is where the value really comes in because this is where you can engage and you can network with your, here we go. Sorry, we're going to see ourselves for a second. Can you see that? Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Give me 2 seconds here. But basically what is this is where, this is our library, which is not an exciting name for it, but what it means is, here we are, is this is where we update this several times a week with the most pressing news that you need to know. And it's not just technical news. It could be how to progress yourself professionally, a CV builder, how to move to the next stage in your career, how to prepare for a job interview, all these different things. Um, and we have a variety of articles, we have toolkits, micro lessons. You can jump in here and you can see we have all these on demand lessons ready to go. So, anyone who takes a course with the DMI, in terms of going back to your question, Shady, of adding value, anyone who takes a course with the DMI gets access to this. So, this is really helpful, again, if you are working on a project and you just need a quick refresher on something technical, or you want to get inspired and you listen to something, say, about brand storytelling, just to sort of, revisit the essentials to get an idea of what's next. Um, I think the most exciting element here is our webinars. We get about 2,000 to 3,000 people attending these every single month, and we get world experts to come and talk to us about a specific topic that's really, really pressing. So again, GA4 Essentials, this is what everyone is talking about here. We had someone from Neil Patel Digital, which is a really, really important leading digital marketing agency. And again, as a DMI member, you get access to all of this. So I can go on and on and on, but it's really, really exciting. While I'm talking, I'll just click through. In addition to this library platform, we also have our membership area. And again, this is where, say, you're an organization and you're saying to your employees, everyone should upskill, everyone should be taking this certain course here. You guys can all talk to each other in what would be called your classroom. So all employees get to work with each other. It's a way of team building in addition to helping each other study, which is very nice. But we have over 200,000 members around the world. So this really is a global community, and it's a great way to network. It's a great way to discuss projects you're working on or anything like that. So again, in terms of adding value, it's just something that's dynamic, and that it's always growing, and it's really exciting. And it's a wonderful offering that the DMI does.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Like, to wrap up the topic, Alex, we discussed several things related to the organization itself, their strategy, and how they perceive people development and their learning strategies as well. That's related to digital transformation, digital infrastructure, and digital marketing operations, and also how people can manage their careers and the skills required, and so on. If we take the topic into a more holistic view or a more holistic level of discussion, how the organization and people as well inside the organization manage the post-pandemic challenges to make the target results of the company, whether for the company or for people inside the company. Because we all know the impact of pandemic and the rise of the low-touch economy since 2020 up to the moment, and the changes that's happened on the market. Maybe we're slightly going back to normal, but we still have the impact in place. So, what do you think is important for organizations and employees as well to tackle in order to achieve the results that they are looking for?
I think what we're seeing more and more is it is a holistic approach. So happy employees, fulfilled employees do incredible work. I think it's about adding value to your company. It's about resonating with your customer. We're seeing that brand social responsibility is so important. We really saw that during the pandemic, and we're seeing that now. So again, that's not even touching yet on revenue generation. This is all about your brand and your brand's name and your brand's importance, and employees as well being brand ambassadors. That's crucial, particularly as we're growing online and as we're growing a bit more distant in terms of working remotely, in terms of multinationals. So that's really important. That's one element. The next is again just that flexibility. Do not get stuck in your ways. It is all about you doing your research. It's about listening to subject matter experts. It's about taking risks, trying new things, trying new again from education. I really do believe that uh, that education is so important. I should say as well, personally, I have a PhD. So when it comes to education, I'm living proof that I really do think it's so important to get as much education as possible. So when it comes to upskilling in a course, I just think it's the best use of your time. Someone's doing all the hard work for you, then you just have to learn it. They've taken all the big information and now they're
Yes.
telling you what to do. So that's really important. So again, it's just that whole round approach.
Yes, yes. You mentioned a very important term and a very important part of the professional life nowadays, which is the remote work
Mm,
and also the distant communication between employees and clients and so on. That would give us the opportunity to go back to the people part. Um, what do you think? We talked about the digital marketing skills required and the skill gap and so on. But in terms of digital and technology skills employees require to acquire so that they manage the work properly
mm,
from distance. What do you think required for this part and how they get themselves used to work remotely?
hmm That's so important. Communication is number one.
Yes,
Absolutely. It's communicating goals, it's communicating projects, it's communicating something as simple as having a daily call with your entire team. And saying, what are you doing today? Everyone have I mean, I think that's part of an agile framework is having a sprint check-in
yes,
every morning and that kind of thing. Communication is number one there. And that needs to be done with good digital platforms. So the likes of Slack or a Google Meet call, or we're on Microsoft Teams, a Microsoft Teams call, whatever it might be. But you need to be using good platforms that make it easy to do and that integrate with whatever it is that you're working on. That's where a great CRM, depending on your business, comes into it as well. So the likes of a Salesforce, a Zoho, whatever it is that you use, that again is really important, because while we all might be sitting in our own separate offices or studies, you need to be making sure that you're all on the same path. And again, that's where data comes into it too, by making sure everything's integrated. But communication and really, really good technology would be my opinion on that.
I believe so. I believe so. Technology is extremely important for that. Not just how people is skilled to do the job, rather than having the skill and also having the right technology to communicate and to do the job. Uh,
Absolutely.
yes. Thank you, Alex, for your time today.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, we're extremely happy to have you with us and looking forward to other episodes from the Value Talk with your participation, valuable participation with us, with the insights you bring to the topic, which are very, very important. Yes, thank you
Thank
so
you. My
much.
pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks for your great questions and your great discussion. It was really, and it makes me want to go and look and research more myself. You're raising some really, really good points today.
Yes. Thank you, Alex. And also encouraging people as well at the end to put their questions, and I'll be sharing them all with Alex. If anyone requires the answer of the question, we will do so and we'll send all answers to your mailbox. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, everyone
Appreciate
attended today, and let's
Alex.
meet in other value talks next month. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.